Welcome back to the KC Sports Report Chiefs post-game show. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to be joined live here at the Sports Radio 810 WHB studio by my producer, Dylan Michaels. And together we're going to unpack the Chiefs' big-time Week 1 win against the Arizona Cardinals to kick off the NFL season. So Chiefs Kingdom, your Kansas City Chiefs just beat the Arizona Cardinals down in Arizona by a final score of 44-21. This game featured a monster performance from Patrick Mahomes in which he threw for 5 touchdowns, and the defense looked fantastic, and he hit all of his different receivers today. So there's so much to unpack. I mean, this game was incredible. Dylan, what are your instant thoughts and reactions to this game?
My instant thoughts and reaction was that the offense looked very different, but almost the same, if that makes any sense, in the ways that you score a lot of points. It's just different how they did it, and it was more efficient. And also, it seemed like, as Mahomes said, he did exactly what he was telling everyone he was going to do, which is spread the football around. And they also mixed in a lot of good running plays, as well as Helaire Pacheco having his first NFL touchdown, which was awesome. So, all in all, it looked like the offense looked good, and so did the defense. I think that the secondary looked great for having their first game together as a unit. And that kind of helped the back end, it seemed, because Kyler was usually checking the ball down or scrambling, because it looked like the back end was holding up pretty well.
Absolutely. And the one question I want to ask you is, how could the Kansas City Chiefs offense survive without Tyreek Hill?
Oh, I don't know. It was crazy that we scored all those points. Actually, we scored more points in our opener this year than last year.
It's absolutely absurd. And the fact that the media all offseason long was talking about how Patrick Mahomes couldn't survive without Tyreek Hill, this game is evident that's just not true whatsoever. I mean, Chiefs Twitter, if you paid attention at all, they were just going on. They were having a field day.
Twitter as a whole.
Just where's Tyreek Hill?
You know how everyone tweets the same thing. It was every reporter was tweeting, "Oh, I think the Chiefs will be fine without Tyreek." So I'll have to go back and search through some old tweets to see how many of those people are changing their tune, because a lot of people are starting to change their tune, it seems like, and for good reason. I mean, it was about as dominant of an offensive performance as we've seen.
It really was.
On a good defense, too. They had very good players. I think that Isaiah Simmons is a great player. Budda Baker's a great player. Byron Murphy's a good player. And they have a good pass rush. It seemed like they were getting good pressure. It just, Mahomes was just better.
Well, you mentioned the pressure. The Arizona Cardinals, for whatever reason, decided to blitz Patrick Mahomes today as if they hadn't watched any tape of what Patrick Mahomes is like against the blitz, which personally I don't understand. And to go back to how efficient the Chiefs' offense was, the Chiefs scored on their first 3 offensive drives. Like, they had no problems against the Arizona Cardinals defense that, granted, was handicapped with some injuries. I know that J.J. Watt didn't play, but this was the first game of the season in which this game actually mattered. The Arizona Cardinals were doing everything in their power to take down the Chiefs, and the Chiefs came out and won this game by double digits, and it wasn't really close at any point in this game. And, you know, I think that really just goes to show you how good of a coach Andy Reid is and how good Patrick Mahomes is. Now, I know on this show you hear me talk a lot about how special Patrick Mahomes is, and it probably, to a certain point, just sounds, you're sick of hearing it by now. But I don't think you understand how incredible Patrick Mahomes truly is. He had 5 touchdown passes today and looked efficient on every single drive. He completed, I think, 12 passes straight at one point. And he is the reason that the Chiefs are going to be perfectly fine without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a great look. We did a good job, it seems, spreading the football around. So, yeah, I have to agree.
And I think that, you know, going back to the first defensive drive, the Chiefs got off the field defensively right away. L'Jarius Sneed got a sack on 3rd and long, and that ended up forcing the Cardinals to punt. And right after that, the Chiefs offense got the ball back and went down the field and scored. And I think that, again, it's so important that the Chiefs defense got off the field. And we saw a lot today that was not a problem. The Chiefs defense, for having so much inexperience and so much youth, that didn't affect the product at all. Now, granted, there was some missed tackles. There were a few miscues, as my producer at my coworker just flashed the moon to me. So I don't even know where I was. Dylan, what was I saying?
We were talking about Chiefs football.
Gotcha. If Blake Schneiders is watching this video, you guys have seen him before. I just saw a little too much and that I did not want to see. Dylan, do you have anything else to say? I mean, I have to regather my thoughts after that.
Well, so I think that the defensive. I really liked the way that they played defensively. It seemed like everyone was flying around a lot faster as well. Like they got younger for a reason, I feel like, on the defensive end, and it really showed and obviously Trent McDuffie, we'll have to see how his hamstring's holding up because he left the game with a hamstring issue on his left hamstring. But Jalen Watson stepped right in, and they tried him against A.J. Green, and he broke it up. He was on. I mean, he was plastered to A.J. Green, and they tried him right when he came in when McDuffie went out, and he was ready. Now, I want to see Joshua Williams a little more. I didn't see him barely at all, maybe.
I don't even know if I saw him today.
So hopefully that's not bad signs. Hopefully it was just maybe he's not ready yet, but he's close. So just hoping on that because there was a lot of good things we heard out of him from training camp.
Exactly. And going back to the Chiefs offense, something that I was really happy to see is that Clyde got involved right away and was a staple throughout the game. Now I'm going to find his rushing stat line really quickly, but on the first drive of the game, they went right to him, and he was very, very efficient. And I think that, he kind of silenced some of the haters for the most part because I'm not the biggest Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan, but I'm also not an active hater. But I think that for a guy that has a lot to prove this season, his first game to come out and have 2 touchdowns, he caught the shovel pass from Mahomes, and then he caught a pass on 4th and 2 and took that into the end zone untouched. That's really good to see, and that's important because, coming out of LSU, Clyde was named a really good pass-catching back. We really haven't seen that, and if he can become a valuable part of this offense in that aspect, it's just going to make the Chiefs even better.
Yeah, and to your point, to get maybe back to your point on Patrick Mahomes against the blitz, I know it was a while ago, but I just saw this next-gen stat here. That he was blitzed on over half of his dropbacks today, 54% for the first time in his career. And he threw a career-high 4 TD passes against the blitz, tied for most in a game in the next-gen stats era since 2016.
I don't know why they blitz him, guys. It doesn't make sense. And you'd think that they would have learned that after that Baltimore Ravens game last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, that it's just foolish to do that because Mahomes is so good against the pressure. And like I said, you guys probably get sick of me talking about Patrick Mahomes' greatness, but every single time he takes the football field, you're watching someone play the game at a level in which we have never seen before. That is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he had 4 touchdown passes in the first, 3 quarters? And maybe he had 4 or 3 in the first half. Like, what he is able to do on the football field against other grown men is something that we have never seen before. And, going back to his stat line, he was 30 of 39 for 360, averaging 9.2 yards per attempt with 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 94.1, and a rating of 144.2, which is astonishing. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire's total was 7 carries for 42 yards, averaging 6 yards a clip, and his longest run of the day was 18. Now, Isaiah Pacheco had a game where he had 12 carries for 62 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per carry with 1 touchdown. Dylan mentioned it. He had his first rushing touchdown as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. And, Jerick McKinnon looked good too. He only had 4 carries for 22 yards, but he was averaging 5.5 yards per carry. He had a big run, and he was really good in the screen game too. And going over the receivers, Travis Kelce had 8 receptions for 121 yards, averaging 15.1 yards per catch with 1 touchdown. That was the first touchdown of the game. And his longest catch of the day was 35 yards. Mahomes threw an absolute bullet down the field. It was a really pretty throw, and the ball placement on the throw was just phenomenal. Hit Travis Kelce for 35 yards downfield. Juju Smith-Schuster had 6 receptions for 79 yards, averaging 13.2 yards per catch, and he also looked pretty good today. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had 4 receptions for 44 yards, averaging 11 yards per reception. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 3 catches for 32 and 2 touchdowns. Sky Moore got his first catch as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs with 1 catch for 30 yards. That was his first catch, but it was really special. He was able to duck under some guys, get downfield, and if that's a sign of something to come, the Chiefs are going to have their guy. And I'm just so excited, Dylan. I mean, what are your thoughts about some of these receivers and specifically their stat line?
I thought that it looked good. I mean, no one's going to have 100 yards besides Travis, it seems like, or maybe it's another person the next week, like Mahomes says. But when they showed that stat on the TV, I know you probably saw this, when Tyreek's stats of the day, they compared them to the entire receiving core. I don't think they didn't include Travis Kelce. So what everyone was kind of saying around here, myself and yourself included, was it's just not going to be 2 guys that have 200 yards receiving between the 2 of them. It's going to be one guy's going to have close to 100 or 100 like Travis did today, and then everyone else is going to chip in and be almost like wide receiver by committee to replace Tyreek Hill. And that's kind of what's dangerous and what's really hard to stop, is that whoever's open's getting the football. It's not, well, we're looking at Tyreek and then Travis and then whoever's next. It's the read says this is going to be open, or the next read is open, or the third read is open. And if all that's broken down and everyone's covered, then he takes off. Or he hits the check down, it seemed like he did today, which was awesome. So, no, I was really impressed and really happy with what I saw today, especially the balance with the running and just Patrick willing to take what was there.
That is so incredibly important because Patrick Mahomes, being as gifted as he is, wants to go downfield every single time. And last year, it seemed like he forced a lot of throws deep that, quite frankly, weren't open. And today, to your point, it just looked like he was very patient and taking what was open. And he made an adjustment at the line of scrimmage, changing the play, and called McKinnon back as a fake blocker. He broke away, caught a little dump-off pass, and got like 20 yards and put him in the red zone. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Mahomes has, I don't want to say lacked to do in the past, but that was never his first option. The fact that he's taking that now, it just shows the maturity level and it just shows the growth, and it just shows that he's getting better every single season. And that is a very scary thing, because if Patrick Mahomes is getting better, the football team is going to get better, and overall this team is going to be even more unstoppable. And to your point, the Arizona Cardinals aren't a joke. Like, they might have gotten embarrassed today.
A playoff team.
They were a playoff team last year. They are a capable unit that might have a coaching problem with Cliff Kingsbury, but the fact remains they were a playoff team last year, and you bullied them for 4 quarters.
Yeah. And here's another stat for you for Mahomes. Burrow, 33 of 53, 338, 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Josh Allen, 26 of 31, 297, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes in 3.5 quarters, 30 of 39, 360, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
He's going to win the MVP if he keeps this up. Now, obviously, putting up 5 touchdowns a game is not going to happen for the duration of the season.
No. And not every game calls for that.
Exactly. But I think that, we're seeing a unit, at least on offense, that is going to be very difficult to stop because there's just so many moving parts. There's so many different guys that can get involved. And I swear to God, we probably talked about this every single episode for the last 2 months, but the fact that they have so many different guys they can go to, it opens the entire offense up, and it allows you to drop 40 on a playoff team. And I think that moving forward, the games are going to get harder. I mean, the Chiefs have one of the most difficult schedules. I think they did the numbers like in NFL history through the first 8 weeks of the season. It's going to be a difficult stretch of games. But if the Chiefs are healthy, which they did have a few injuries in this game, which maybe Dylan, you can pull up as I'm talking right now. They had a few injuries in this game. They have a short week, the Los Angeles Chargers. They play those guys on Thursday night in Los Angeles. But if the Chiefs can stay healthy with the coaching and just the offensive explosion that we've seen and the defense improving before our very eyes, we're going to have something here, guys. Like we've seen in years prior, our defense kicks on in week 9 or 10, or when the winter months come and it gets colder out, our defense gets better. But we saw our defense really only give up 14 points. They scored that last touchdown in garbage time. And when you're up by 30, it's not really imperative to play your best defense when you're up by that much. They were basically playing prevent defense from the third quarter on.
Yeah, and with their backups too. So, to your injury question, here's the injury update from Andy after the game, courtesy of Matt Derrick at Matt Derrick. He is a Chiefs beat writer for ChiefsDigest.com, also a contributor here at Sports Radio 810 WHB. Member of the PFWA Writers Association as well, so that's a good source. He says that Patrick Mahomes landed on his wrist and will get further tests done.
Forgot to mention that.
Same for wide receiver Justin Watson, who is out. It looks like a designation of a chest injury. Team will see how kicker Harrison Butker ankle, right guard Trey Smith ankle, and cornerback Trent McDuffie strained hamstring are doing on Monday.
Oh, and that's another thing that I forgot to mention. Harrison Butker, on one of the kickoffs, slipped and hurt his left ankle, I believe. And who happens to be our backup kicker? That guy's Justin Reed. Justin Reed came in, went 1 of 2 from was it extra points? 1 of 2 of extra points. And he basically took over the kickoff duties, even though Harrison Butker did come back and ended up nailing a 54-yard field goal with basically a one-step plant and just using his boot and just kick that thing through the uprights.
And I want to point out, if you were paying attention to the Chiefs sideline when that happened, I think that a lot of players respected him for going out there and kicking that field goal and not. I think they still respected him for whatever happened of the result, but, obviously it's much happier scene when he makes it as well. I mean, that massive respect for Harrison Butker because everyone likes to dog on kickers, and seems like we have a pretty tough one.
Well, and kickers seem to be the theme through this Sunday in the NFL.
Yeah, you're totally right. It seems like everyone's special teams was almost
horrid.
A disaster when it was being mentioned in the news today as the NFL's first Sunday happened. But the Chiefs really had a good special teams day, and we were able to kind of show off how much pride that our team and Dave Toub takes in that facet of the football team, and the fact that we have a backup kicker that's our safety. I think that's pretty awesome. And it's awesome that we, did all that in the preseason, and like the first game it pops up.
It's very ironic. I mean, I think he came in with 9 minutes passed in the game. So through the first, not even 10 minutes into the season, Justin Reed was tested as a kicker right away. But, to get back to Harrison Butker, the fact that he came in with that left ankle and was able to basically take a one-step and swing mentality and nail a 54-yarder is unbelievably impressive. Like, the fact that he didn't have to get any momentum or anything like that, very impressive. And like you said, it's very respectable. But yeah. I just think that, there's not a lot to complain about in this game because the Chiefs played well in every facet: offense, defense, special teams. Now, obviously, there's some stuff to tighten up on defense. There were some missed tackles, but as I said in the preview, that's the kind of stuff I expect with rookies. Like, you're going to get some missed tackles. That just comes with young guys and being more aggressive. But, as we've been talking about for a while, the defense just looked faster today. It just looked a lot crisper. It looked a lot quicker. And I think that moving forward, that is going to be the Chiefs' biggest strength because now they have guys that they might not know where to be right away, but they have the speed to kind of make up for their lack of knowledge, where in years prior they've had guys with all the knowledge in the world, but not the speed and athleticism to get to the spot that they need to be, like Anthony Hitchens and Daniel Sorensen and Ben Neiman. They had the smarts, they just didn't have the athletic gifts to make those plays. And I think that now the Chiefs have that. And once they get, let's say, 8 or 9 weeks in this defense, guys, it's going to be a really good unit. I mean, what are your thoughts, Dylan?
I'd have to agree. I'd say just kind of every sentiment you hit there was pretty spot on. I really don't, it's like, James Carville and old school,
Yeah.
I have nothing to say.
I mean, and that's, I mean, guys, I'm just so happy. This big win is important. You got to start off the season with the win. I don't think the Chiefs have lost a home opener since, 2014?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I know a lot of
And when
people,
I saw that stat, I was like, here we go.
I know a lot of people say that, but I mean, it just goes back to Andy Reid. And Andy Reid had months to prepare for this game, and I really had no questions about it. Now, this upcoming Thursday game, it's going to be tough, and we'll talk about that as the week goes along, but I think that this game was so important on a lot of different levels, but most importantly, I think that this game kind of showed everybody in the NFL world that the Chiefs never really went anywhere. Now, there was a lot of speculation in the offseason that, there was so much turnover with the offense and defense that the Chiefs have fallen off, and the AFC West has gotten so much better. The Chiefs are not going to win that division. Like, we've just been hearing this talk for the last 2 or 3 months, and I feel like this game, in a sense, kind of quieted that noise and kind of shut the critics up, because you just beat a playoff team by 21 points, more than 21 points, but 3 touchdowns. You beat them by 3 touchdowns, and that's a big statement win, and quite frankly, it's one that this Chiefs team needed.
Yeah, and probably would have been more if we played the whole game.
Well, I tweeted it out. I was like, is Pat going to go for 6 touchdowns here?
Well, his trainer, actually, Bobby Stroop, actually said, if you think he's stopping at 5, ... And it's funny because he was right there on the doorstep for 6, and they handed off to Pacheco for his first touchdown, which is awesome. But It's funny because he did end up with 5. So they were definitely trying to prove a point, I think. And I like that. I like that. I saw Travis Kelce talk about Tyreek's videos in the offseason and stuff like that. I like that there was no talking. It was, we're just going to go out here and we're going to blow out the Arizona Cardinals, and everyone's going to just talk about it. We don't have to talk about it ourselves.
Exactly. And, to kind of get back to the defense, I thought that the Chiefs' pressure was pretty good. They were able to get to Kyler Murray and kind of close that pocket. The only thing that I will say is that they were playing man coverage, and that allowed Kyler Murray to get free a couple times. And he's the kind of guy that is probably not going to beat you with his arm, but if he gets loose, he's going to scramble and get quite a few yards. Now, Dylan, I don't know if he hit the over on the 36.5.
Nope.
So
both of my prop bets missed, but I was 3-0 on my game picks.
Which, hey, it's all that matters. But
yeah, and I'm staying away from prop bets from now on because of that. Because if I just would have gone game picks, which I was more comfortable with, I probably would have been. I know I would have been undefeated. So Jets are still the Jets, and the Texans looked pretty good defensively against the Colts and pretty okay offensively, but they covered. And then the Minnesota Vikings also looked really, really good today with Kevin O'Connell, first-year head coach. The reason why I went with that, again, was because of the Rams looking so bad on Thursday night. I felt like, well, there's got to be a reason, and it seems like it was all the offense that really looked bad. It wasn't their defense looked bad too, but they still had their D coordinator. They lost their OC, and the Vikings were explosive offensively with a defensive-minded head coach. So I feel like the Vikings, everyone was kind of ripping on people for their Kirk Cousins MVP takes. There's been a couple people in the national media that have done that, and I'm not saying that he's going to be the MVP.
Yeah, I don't know
but
if
I think he'll be that. No, God, no. But I do think that he'll be better than he has been in the past because of the fact that this guy came from the McVay system and seems like he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's getting Justin Jefferson out in space. Justin Jefferson had more receiving yards than the entire Packers receiving corps. Yeah. So 3-0 there. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with game picks.
Yeah, Dylan Michaels, professional sports bettor, guys.
Sharp.
Really good, really good. But getting back to the game, I kind of talked about how good the pressure was against Kyler Murray. He did escape a few times, but I'm still hesitant to say the Chiefs' pass rush is back. Carlos Dunlap got a sack, which was nice to see. George Karlaftis was applying steady pressure. He batted down a pass from the line, but Kyler Murray's like 5'4", so you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt. Chris Jones was causing mayhem all game long, but I really want to see what this pass rush unit is going to do next week against the Chargers because that's a real quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Kyler Murray's not a real quarterback, but Justin Herbert, I would say, is a top 5 quarterback and definitely top 5 most talented quarterback who can release the ball really quickly, really efficiently, and I think that if our pass rush can get to Justin Herbert, that's a sign of things changing, and that's a good sign moving forward if they can handle business against the Chargers on Thursday. But really quickly, before we wrap this thing up, I want to get to some scores around the NFL because it was a hectic day. I'm going to try to pull some of those up really quickly. But, Dylan, one of the games that I was watching before the Chiefs, and I know a lot of people, I live in the Kansas City area, obviously. If you weren't watching CBS in Kansas City, I guess it didn't go to the Chiefs game right away, which had a lot of people upset. But the game that was on before was the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was a game that nobody wanted to win. The special teams unit for both teams was god-awful. And the Pittsburgh Steelers ended up winning that game in overtime, 23-20. Joe Burrow was horrible. You mentioned it. He had 4 picks and, one touchdown or 2 touchdowns? I don't even remember. But Joe Burrow did not look good at all. The next game, the Eagles just barely beat the Lions 38-35 in Detroit. The Chicago Bears beat the 49ers at home in Soldier Field. Terrible field conditions there in Soldier Field, by the way. The Browns beat the Panthers. Baker Mayfield did not get his revenge. The Browns won 26-24. The Colts and the Texans ended up tying in Texas. The Saints beat the Falcons 27-26 on the road. The Ravens beat the Jets 24-9 in a pretty ugly game. The Commanders beat the Jaguars at home 28-22. And the Vikings outlasted the Packers 23-7. The Giants just barely beat the Titans 21-20 on the road. The Raiders fell to the Chargers at SoFi Stadium 24-19. The Chiefs obviously beat the Cardinals 44-21. And the game that is currently in progress, the Buccaneers are up 9-3 on the Dallas Cowboys. So Dylan, before we wrap this thing up, do you have any final thoughts about this game?
No, I really was impressed. I really was thoroughly impressed. I had low expectations on the defense, and they exceeded by a mile what I thought it was going to look like. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a shootout for a while, but I thought we were going to win by a couple scores. I did not expect us to really just shut down Kyler Murray in that offense. Now, obviously DeAndre Hopkins was out, but, we don't have a number 1 wide receiver, and we put up 44 points. So I'm tired of all the this guy's injured. They didn't have Hopkins. Well, we didn't have Tyreek Hill.
Exactly.
So there's different levels to quarterbacking, and Kyler Murray got a lot of money to make that work today. He had Marquise Brown, he had Zach Ertz, he had AJ Green, and he hit 83. I can't remember his name a lot. And
83. That's not coming to my mind right now.
No, he doesn't. He's a new guy. He's a rookie. But he was wide open a lot. I think he was the guy that filled in for Rondale Moore. And he was open a lot, and Kyler hit him. But he just doesn't – he leaves you wanting more, Kyler does, especially in that playoff game last year and now this. So the last 2 games Kyler Murray's come out and played, he's kind of underwhelmed. Yeah. So that's kind of my takeaway and final kind of thoughts on this week. And it's going to be tough because you're going to have a short week with the Chargers. You have a long travel, not a long travel, but you have a West Coast to Central Time Zone travel tonight. And then you have a short week while the Chargers get to sleep at home.
Exactly.
So it'll be tough. It really will. I probably am going to take the Chargers to cover.
Yeah.
And that it's going to be a 1-point spread, so I'm kind of taking them to win. I don't want to be an anti-homer, but it's just a tough slate, and if we come out and play the same way against them, that is a big statement.
Yeah. My final thoughts, I think this game, like I said, it was just so important that the Chiefs come out and make a statement. They made a statement in this game. The Chiefs showed the world that they do not need Tyreek Hill to be a great football team. Patrick Mahomes is still that guy. He's the best quarterback on the planet, and he showed that today, and that's why the Chiefs absolutely crushed the Arizona Cardinals 44-21 in Arizona. So thank you guys for watching this Chiefs post-game show. As for me, you guys can follow me on Twitter. That is at KC Sports Report. Instagram is KC_Sports Report. Check out the website. That is KCSportsReport.com. As you guys probably saw me smirk earlier today, I got mooned by my coworker, not Dylan. Thank God it wasn't Dylan.
Oh, no.
But my coworker Blake Schneider shot me the moon while I was trying to talk to you guys.
He tried to throw you off.
Yeah.
He tried to throw off the pro. You held in there for longer. I think that he tried his best with a wave, and then maybe a certain, middle finger as well. But then obviously it's hard to. I was blinders on as like the horse racing horses or the horses out on the barn. They put those blinders on them. That was me. I was just focused, trying to stay cool because I am not as big a pro as Michael Darcy. So it happens to anyone, especially a guy like you. So I understand, man, and kudos to you for hanging in there.
I was just trying to stay professional.
Hey,
but
you know what? You are a consummate professional, sir.
I appreciate it, sir. Special thanks to Dylan Michaels, the producer of this show. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.